Hey everyone, hope you're having a good day. This video is going to be about wild animals and encounters I had and things to know about animals in general on the Appalachian Trail. Alright, so when I did my thru hike in 2018, I'm doing a second one this year, 2021, but when I went in 2018, I was very afraid of wild animals. I did not know what to expect. I didn't know how to, I don't know, in general, I wasn't aware of how things worked out there and how animals were. So I thought I would make this video, give some peace of mind to a lot of people that are about to start and kind of tell you what my experience was out there. Because I did run into animals, I did run into some situations. Nothing dangerous and nothing bad, but this is how I handled it, what I did. So first of all, I was not aware of, and I wish I had been, was the mice in the shelters. Holy cow, there's mice in every shelter. They're very annoying. They are looking for food. If you have any kind of trace of food in your pack, especially in the pockets, they will eat right through your pack and try to get food. Luckily, it never happened to me, but I saw it happen to a lot of people. I saw their packs get ruined because of it. So be very careful if you are staying at a shelter to be sure that your food is either hung up in a tree, or if they do provide hooks in some shelters where you can hang your pack up. But in general, I would definitely take out all of your food items and secure them somewhere away from access to mice, because they will go after it. And those little critters are annoying. They run across the floor all night, and until you get used to them, when I went in 2018, I stayed at a shelter and I was by myself, and there was a ton of mice in there, and they scared the crap out of me all night because I just wasn't used to it and I didn't know what to expect. But now I am well aware that there's mice everywhere in all of the shelters, and that's totally fine. As a matter of fact, there are some shelters with raccoons, skunk. In Grayson Highlands, there's one shelter with a skunk in it. But these animals don't tend to bother you if you don't bother them and don't leave any food out for them to try to get. So just be in mind that they're out there. They will coexist with you just fine. One big thing on the trail that everybody is afraid of and does talk about is ticks. There are a few different kinds of ticks out there. I did see ticks. There was a tick on my tent one day. There was a tick on my shoe one day. Luckily, I didn't have a tick on me, and I went through that thru hike just fine. But they are out there. You do need to check your gear and check yourself regularly, especially in the warmer months. Although ticks can be around all year, less likely in the winter, but it's not impossible. But they really come out in the summertime, so just be aware of it. Be sure you're check your hair, check your clothes, make sure that ticks are not hanging around and hanging on you, because you don't want to get bit and have to run into Lyme disease issues. So that's as far as all of the animals on the AT. That was my biggest concern. But let me talk about bears, because people do wonder about that. Yes, there are lots of bears out on the Appalachian Trail, but keep in mind, and this is just my personal thoughts and opinions, I'm sure everybody's a little bit different, but they're black bears. They're not grizzly bears, they're not aggressive, and they're not territorial. The only time you're going to run into some major issue with that is if you have a mother with her cubs. You don't want to mess with that, because she will attack and hurt you to protect, or if she feels any kind of threat to her cubs or to protect them. But all the bears that I saw were running away. As soon as they saw that I was coming, they took off running faster than you could even blink. And so that wasn't a problem for me. I did not carry or worry about carrying anything to protect against the bears. Bear spray is heavy. It's a lot of weight to carry. I did see people carrying it, but in my own personal opinion, I do not think it's necessary whatsoever for bears. If you want to use it as protection for something else, I think that's a good idea, but I wouldn't carry bear spray for bear protection on the Appalachian Trail. Now for the PCT, that's a whole different story, but in other places. But specifically, in my opinion, for the AT, not necessary whatsoever. As far as seeing animals out there, you see lots of beautiful birds. I loved those little newts or lizards that were along the I love seeing those, and they're everywhere. Grouses, there's a lot of moose up further north, especially in Maine. You'll probably see one. What other animals? Oh, I did see a fox, and I saw a fox running across or down the street with a squirrel he had just caught in his mouth, so that was an interesting sight. But I did see some coyotes. I ran into some coyotes. I had been hiking all day, and I decided to do some stealth camping. I found a really cool spot that was along right on top of the side of a mountain with some soft grass, and I thought, oh, perfect spot to set up and stealth camp for the day or the night. And I set up my tent and everything was good. I crawl inside, and then all of a sudden I hear all of these two baby coyotes coming out, and they were playing and wrestling. And then shortly after that, the mother and father came out, and the father started howling, not in any kind of threat towards me, but I thought it was kind of funny that I had set up camp right next to a coyote den. So that does happen. I was not afraid in any way or shape or form. I stayed in my tent, kept to myself. They didn't bother me, I didn't bother them, and they did quiet down later on in the night. But it was fun to listen to the little babies, the younger one, the pups playing. It was fun. So yeah, that was an interesting experience. Back to bears. I did run into an encounter another time. It was around mid-trail, maybe a little after midway. I was stealth camping again, and I ended up hearing and feeling the vibration of a bear that was around my tent, and I knew he was a big one because I felt the ground moving. I could feel the vibration with each step, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is not something I want to deal with. And I did get scared. So what I did, and what worked for me, and I'm sharing this tip because I think it could be useful, is I have a podcast that I listen to, and it's got a very loud and excited male voice. And I thought, okay, I pulled up the podcast and I put it on as high volume as I could and blared that podcast for a few minutes, and the bear took off, and I didn't poke my head out of the tent to see it, so I don't know if he ran away or what, but he did go away. I didn't feel the vibrations any further, and he did not give me any problems or issues the whole night. So that does happen. Maybe have that podcast, a podcast that you could use available, so that if you need to scare off some animals with a louder voice a louder male voice, then that could be used and useful. I thought that would be more effective than my screaming voice, and it was. I have no doubt. So yep, and snakes. If you're afraid of snakes, then you may not want to hike the AT in the summer, because there are snakes everywhere. When it starts to warm up and they're all over the trail, usually just black snakes or garden snakes or corn snakes, but they're harmless, but you don't want to mess with them, and they don't mess with you. I didn't have any problems when I was hiking. I just kind of stayed on my side of the trail and kept going. But I will mention, I did almost step on a rattlesnake, and that scared me to death. So it was in Pennsylvania, I believe, and I was stepping over a big log that had fallen, and I heard the rattle, and the snake was right under my legs. and I have a picture I will show. But it scared me so much, and that was way too close for comfort for me. But they are out there. Just try to be aware, watch where you're going. If you're stepping over a big log, maybe take a peek over on the other side before you step, and you should be okay. But there are a lot of snakes out there. I didn't have any problems with them, thank goodness. I'm not a huge fan of snakes, but I'm not opposed to them either. I think we all can coexist just fine. But they are a lot out there, so just be aware of it. Take precautions for the ticks. That would be my biggest piece of advice. You don't want to mess with Lyme disease in that mess. Be cautious with the bears. Just be sure that you don't mess with any female mother bears with her cubs, and I think you'd be okay. So that is my experience with animals and wild animals on the Appalachian Trail. So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to go out there. Don't be afraid to stealth camp. Don't be afraid to start the trail because of animals, because honestly, they were the least of my worries. they were the least of my concern at all. I was more concerned about people and shady people and just trying to be safe out there, which it all worked out. It was okay, but I tried to be more cautious and defensive. But what got me more concerned than anything was my safety with people. Safety with animals, definitely not a problem. So don't be afraid. Don't be a big chicken like I was, and you'll have a great time. All right, have a good day.